We had a great week trading as a team. Here's a few trades that we caught this past week. Now let's get into this Forex forecast. All right, starting things off with the COT report for the DXY, the US dollar. The past week, the banks added 95 longs and they got rid of 442 short positions. Looking at a weekly chart here, we will do a top-down approach. Remember, we have this weekly selling area that is taken control. This was that base drop, as you can see, with that pretty nice red candle move down, and as we pull back into this supply level, we have clearly reacted off of it and pushed down. Have we gotten a huge push down off this? No, obviously not, but at the end of the day, it is being respected. This supply is definitely being respected. It is definitely there. So when we come to a daily chart, you can see we have this daily demand that is currently in control. We hit the demand down here, pretty much immediately reacted off of it. We didn't get a strong move, like this or like this out of the zone. It's kind of been stair-steppy. I mean, not amazing, but we have seen it being respected. But what is stronger than a daily demand zone? Well, that would actually be a weekly supply zone, which we just discussed is in control up here. So can a daily demand zone break a weekly supply zone? In theory, absolutely. But based off of my multiple time frame analysis, trading methodology, I personally would prefer to wait for that weekly supply to be removed before being super bullish on the dollar. But with this demand and control, we definitely could be looking for longs, but with the weekly supply and control, it makes it a little confusing. So we are pretty much going to have to go off of the lower time frames. And if you look at a 4-hour chart here, we clearly lost momentum. We had uptrends from back here, and we clearly broke below the trend line. And that actually left us with a pretty decent supply level up here at 104.27. I actually pointed this one out yesterday in the daily market breakdown video, and it was just an area to watch to see how it reacted. And obviously the dollar just absolutely tanked as soon as we contacted this supply level. So it is kind of a hot mess, if I'm being honest, where the weekly chart is telling us we should be looking for shorts. The daily chart is saying, okay, maybe look for longs. And then the H4 chart, the one we're looking at now, is saying, okay, we have some supply and control and we're pushing down off of it. We should be looking for shorts. So as you can see, it's a little confusing at this time. So we're going to pretty much have to monitor, going back to the 4-hour chart, if we can start to break these lows down here, that'll be a significant sign. Why? Well, then because we'll have the ability to draw a 4-hour downward trend line, and we'll have a 4-hour downtrend, and that would be definitely significant. If you look at a 4-hour chart here as well, we have demand down below at 103.06. I think that would be our profit target if you want to trade from supply down to demand, at least as far as the DXY goes. So as far as my what I personally think is going to happen on the dollar, I think we will struggle to break through this demand. But at the end of the day, we have a selling area / supply in control, and I actually am expecting it to break. That is just my personal opinion, but it doesn't mean I think we're just going to blast through this demand. As you can see in the daily chart, clearly there's a lot of demand in that area. All right, on to the forecast for the Euro US dollar. The past week, the banks got rid of 7,960 long positions, and they also got rid of 2,798 short positions. Really quick, if you want, hit that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. We just did our second donation of the year. All of the ad revenue generated from the weekly Forex Forecast videos is donated to my local hospice, and we just recently made a donation, so I want to thank all of you guys for watching and continuing to like the video. So as far as the euro goes, we are still basically in between supply and demand, looking at the daily chart. But what was the last zone that was in control? Well, definitely was not supply. The supply is still fresh. It has not been tested. We pushed down, contacted this demand for basically the 1, 2, 3rd time, and we clearly are reacting off of it. So we do have demand that is in control, but on the 1-hour chart, we clearly have lost momentum here. I'm calling this a 1-hour downtrend. It is not a great 1-hour downtrend. It is basically almost sideways, but at the end of the day, we have a supply zone that is about to come in contact at 1.08 on the 1-hour chart. So if you are bullish on the euro, which I am, I think that we would want to wait for that 1-hour supply to be removed first before we just continue to hop on long. What I think is also possible is that we actually react off of this supply and push down, and down to where, and why do I think that's going to happen? Well, because there's a significant demand level down here at 1.07 that I personally have my eye on for longs, and it removed a trend line, and it's a good zone. So that is why I think you know, I do think the euro is going to go up, but I think it's possible we do see some downward pressure first to push down to 4 hour demand and then rally up. So do not get confused. You know, I am bullish. I am personally not going to be taking that 1 hour supply zone short that I was pointing out here. But what I'm saying, you know, I do get a lot of flack for this in the comments sometimes, is if you want to short, that would be your area to look for shorts, even on a day trading time frame, with that clear profit margin down to that 4 hour demand zone, like I said on the euro. But overall, I am kind of bullish here on the euro, especially if we can push down to the 4 hour demand zone at 1.077, like I was talking about. And on the daily chart going back, we have very, very clear profit margin up to 1.09 to the daily supply. So it's one of those times where I'm definitely looking to capitalize on that move. We just need to wait for some zones to be hit. On to the forecast for gold. The past week, the banks added 3,914 longs, and they also added 2,540 shorts. So as we look at a weekly chart here, you guys know I've been pointing out this weekly uptrend for a while and saying we could be looking for longs. And look at this last week here. You guys know the gold has just been on an absolute tear. I was long, or I still am long, down from this daily demand zone. My average price, I actually forget, I think it's around 2,000, something like that. I have to get the exact price. I don't usually share that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, I pointed out this daily zone a few weeks ago in the weekly Forex forecast. So you can go back and check that out. It is all there. That's one thing about my channel, is that the forecasts are all there for you guys to go back and check my work. So looking at the weekly chart here, we did, you know, in theory, we did push all the way up to about 2150, where you see this wick. But I mean, the real price action high is right about here. And if you look, we didn't quite break through it just yet. So that is the more significant high in my opinion. As far as the daily chart goes, yes, this is the real high, but we are at a significant point at this time on gold. Do we want to be buying gold? I think so, but you know, doesn't mean we just want to chase price. I mean, look at the size of this daily candle. Let's just say it was a very, very nice day for anyone who's holding gold, especially, you know, from down here at the proper entry at the daily zone. But looking at the 1 hour chart, we have a 1 hour uptrend, so I like that. I think looking for day trading longs should be good. I think if we pull that back down to like 2070 down here, I think we will see some sort of move. Just kind of pull back into this little hidden zone right here. If not, we have a 1 hour zone at 2053 that I think could be good. I'm really hoping we don't fill in this huge move. I want to see gold continue to go up. Obviously, I'm long. I don't really want to add on any more, but if I was, it would probably be at this 1 hour demand zone down there. But at the end of the day, we have trends to the upside, so we could be day trading long. We don't have to wait for that pullback, although it is advised. Looking at the 4 hour chart, pretty much all the zones are used up. So what we'd be looking for now is maybe some basing out here at the 4 hour supply, and that next leg up, maybe creating a demand zone where we could look for longs. So that is gold. Not much as far as zones to point out except for that 1 hour zone. But obviously, if you were long from that daily zone and you paid attention to a couple forecasts ago, you'd be well into profit. So as far as gold goes now, I think continuing to look for longs on day trading timeframes is going to be good, but we definitely need to be cautious as we are approaching the all-time highs, and we could definitely see price push down. So basically just looking for lower time frame trades or new 4 hour, 1 hour zones to be formed. All right, on to the forecast for the USDJPY. The past week, the banks added 9,326 longs, and they also got rid of 2,601 shorts. So we did not break this high yet. Looking at the weekly chart, are we going to? It's really all going to depend on the dollar. Also, the yen. So, if we do push up above it, we'll have a beautiful weekly trend. And it'd be pretty bullish sign, but at the end of the day, we are kind of sitting at the highs. So we definitely could see, some downward pressure. The issue that I'm having with the USDJPY right now is if you look at a daily chart, we are pretty much stuck. And why are we stuck? Well, we've had the supply drawn out for a while. You can go back to last year. I've had the supply drawn out in the charts for forever almost since it's been formed, and we created demand right before it on the daily chart. And clearly, we pushed up, reacted, pushed down, back into demand, reacted, off supply, pushed down. So what is this? We are ping-ponging essentially. Do I think it's going to go on forever? No, I do not. It's all going to depend around this daily demand zone though. If we break it, I think looking for shorts is going to be decent. So if you look at a 4 hour chart, the confusion pretty much just continues. I mean, you can clearly see, demand and supply being respected, pretty well. If you guys do want to learn how to find these zones, the best zones, check out my membership, the Diamond membership. Links in the description down below. We have Sunday Zoom sessions, daily analysis, daily market breakdown videos, and video lessons, and much more. So I'll be happy to see you guys join the team and get my analysis and my zones throughout the week. So onto the 4-hour chart again. We are ping-ponging between this as well. We are basically looking for a breakout either side, to the downside or to the upside, and that will be your trading direction if you are on day trading timeframes. As far as swing trading timeframes, I'm not seeing any solid entries at this time. If you go to 1-hour chart, okay, we have a 1-hour demand zone right here. It's a decent it's a decent little rally demand zone. Essentially, it removes supply as well. So it's decent, and we are into that zone right now. Do we want to be getting long at this zone? I mean, based on the daily chart, not really. And look at how sideways this is going. Yes, we have had some zones respected. Some zones have been failing, right? So it's not the highest odds situation. What I would prefer to see on the 1-hour chart, is some trends or something like this where we have a very clear direction. So at the end of the day, we have a 1-hour demand zone in control. You could, in theory, be day trading long on a 5-minute chart, looking for longs in that 1-hour demand zone. I personally am not a day trader, guys. I don't know if anybody's new to the channel, but I'm a swing trader. So as a swing trader, I am not really looking at trading the USDJPY, to be honest. I don't really like the daily zone. I don't like the weekly chart either. And I really don't like the 4-hour chart. Like I said, if we can break out to the downside like this or something, creating a nice little 4-hour supply zone, and let's say the DXY, the daily chart in the DXY starts to fall and break through the demand, okay, then at that point I think we have a potential trade on our hands. But in the meantime, as far as the yen goes, guys, we don't have a lot to go off of. So it's really, if you're a day trader, you could probably get some setups, like I said, coming off the demand zones on the 1-hour chart. But for swing traders, we probably want to kind of hold off. All right, on to the GBPUSD, and let me know your thoughts on the pound. We do this every single week, guys, so I'm looking to see more comments from you guys about your thoughts on the pound and what you think is going to happen. Based on the daily chart, I pretty much have no thoughts. My thoughts here are it's sideways and it is a mess. My only thoughts are looking at the 1-hour chart. We do, in theory, have a downtrend here. Now, why do we have a downtrend? Well, because lower lows and stuff. It's pretty obvious, in my opinion. Although it is not the best downtrend I've ever seen, I much prefer a steeper downtrend that's still has some moves. Right? I don't want it to be too steep, but I don't really love it when it's kind of sideways like this either. So my thoughts on the pound are, I think we could be day trading short this one. That's really it, based on that 1-hour trend. All trading should be on day trading timeframes. If you look at a 1-hour chart, what do we have to go off of here? I mean, not much at all. There's really no clear demand down here or clear supply. So it's just one of those times where I do not like this pair. If we can get a nice push up maybe like that, okay, then we'll have a pretty nice 4-hour uptrend, and then we can maybe look for longs. I think it'd be decent. But until then, guys, I think that we just pretty much need to kind of hold off. And even on the daily chart, there's not much. So if we compare this to like the euro or something, the euro, we have a clear 4-hour zone below that we could get in long at that took out a trend line and stuff. So, if you want to trade short the dollar, I do personally think the euro is going to offer probably the best looking setup. The pound, like I said, it's just not looking great. Look at this daily chart. There's really not much to go off. If we can break to the downside, okay, that's significant. If we can break the highs, that's significant. But, it's just a lot of sideways action. That's why whenever I've been waking up in the morning, guys, looking at, oh, what can I trade today? The pound, definitely not on that list. What about you guys? Alrighty, on to the USDCAD forecast. The past week, the banks added 4,565 longs, and they also added 4,050 shorts. So we are into this daily supply. But remember, we've pretty much tested it once, twice, 3, 4 times now, and look how deep we have pushed into it. Basically 3/4 of the way in at this point. So it's definitely not looking great as far as USDCAD shorts go. And we actually caught this beautiful little 1-hour demand zone trade right down there. A little trap set up here as well. Boom. So what a trade from there. I think a few members got some trades from there. So congratulations to you guys. In the meantime, how do we trade USDCAD now? Well, look at this. Okay, the overall trend is up, right? I have my trend line here. Boom, boom, boom. Looking pretty good as far as the big picture goes. But when we kind of hyper focus on this most recent price action right here, what do you guys see? I see a rectangle box and sideways price action. So, if you want to short, this would be your short up here at 1.35. It is a little bit risky though. It's really all going to depend on the US dollar, oil as well. But that would be your shorting entry. But remember, it's sideways action, so you could easily see something like that happen at this supply zone or this demand zone, where we kind of just spiked below it, pushed up, and then for the supply we spiked above it and pushed down. So it's definitely possible we see a spike above and push down, just kind of this manipulation. That is why I do not like to trade in these sideways markets. So for shorts, that would be your short entry, and for longs, we want to pretty much wait for this high and for that supply to be removed before we even really consider getting in long, at least on swing trading timeframes. If you are a day trader, we have a pretty nice 4-hour uptrend. If you want to ignore all that supply, that's fine, and you could just continue to look for longs and let your risk reward play out and just continue to trade with this trend. So on 15-minute time frames, 5-minute time frames, we could definitely be looking to trade long with this 4-hour trend. But remember, it is a little risky, and once we get up to 1.358, do I think the odds of this supply zone working out aren't the best, but I think the odds of us seeing at least a reaction off of it are pretty solid. So we definitely need to be cautious as we approach that, especially if you get a long entry from where we are now, if you want to trade with that 4-hour trend to the upside. On to the forecast for the Aussie US dollar. The past week, the banks added 540 longs and they got rid of 2,159 shorts. As we look at a daily chart here, remember I've been pointing this out for a while. We have that very, very clean supply above at 0.66. I still think, supply and demand acts as a magnet. I think we could kind of push up to that supply still, but obviously there's not a ton of evidence for that taking place at this time. Although on the 1-hour chart, we did break momentum here on the 1-hour chart. So in order for price to pull back up to a daily supply zone, at minimum, we need a 1-hour trend to end, and I mean, that's what we have seen here. So that is definitely one step in the process of pulling back up to that daily supply. So if you want to get a little aggressive here, that will be our 1-hour demand zone entry at 0.65 down there. Remember, a little bit risky, a lot of trading in this area. I think it's a very obvious area. I think maybe we could even spike below and push up, kind of get some manipulation here based on how much trading has been in that area. But at the end of the day, that is our demand zone there on the 1-hour chart. Me personally, what do I think is going to happen here? It's difficult to tell. I mean, right away, I'm noticing this 4-hour supply zone, and this supply zone is significant because it removed this demand. Now, I like this demand zone. I was actually very surprised we blew through that zone. This was actually one I called out in the daily market breakdown video as well, and we absolutely blew through that zone. So, no, we do not win all of our trades, guys, obviously. But anyways, we do have a 4-hour supply above at 0.6536. I think we will at minimum hesitate to get through this zone. If you are bearish, that would be your area to look for shorts, and it's one of those things where we have clear profit margin down to 0.645. So if you are bearish, that would be your short entry there, and especially on day trading timeframes. As far as what I think is going to happen, like I said, I think we will struggle to break above that supply zone. At minimum, what I think we could see is at least the reaction of that 4-hour supply back down to this 1-hour demand. And what's going to happen down here at this demand zone, honestly, it's kind of difficult to tell at this time. But at the end of the day, we have two clear zones here for shorts and for longs, depending on your view. And all I'm going to say is it's difficult to tell, guys. We have profit margin to the upside and lots of profit margin to the downside. So I don't blame you guys for wanting to look for longs and wanting to look for shorts. I completely get it. But at the end of the day, we want to pretty much focus on zones and we want to be trading at zones. So would I short right at this time? No, we want to wait for the supply first. Would I go long right at this time? No, we'd want to wait for this 1-hour demand zone to be contacted first. So I would wait for either of those zones to be hit and then make your trading decision at that time. All right, on to the USD Swiss. The past week, the banks added 4,879 longs, and they also added 2,821 shorts. Remember, we are at a weekly trend line here, and we could definitely see price spike above to this weekly supply at 0.89, and we definitely could see a reaction of it. I'm just pointing out that we are around a trend line, so we could see some impulsive moves here. Just want to point that out. If you look at a daily chart, we are pretty much sitting in between supply and demand, so not a lot to go off of here. I still like a pullback down here for longs, and as far as shorts go, I think this is decent, but really not much to go off of here on the daily chart. So obviously we're going to have to look at the lower time frames. And on the 4-hour chart here, You guys, if you watched last week's video, I'm not 100% sure what I said about the zone. I did not like this, but you know, I don't call that remove typically, so I'm not too surprised to see a move, you know, off of this zone right here. And we actually did create a new trend line here. I didn't realize that until just now. So you know, we do have an updated trend line here. And why is that? Well, because we broke the high. So that is an updated trend line. It is looking strong. I think if you were a day trader on a 1 minute, 5 minute, 50-minute chart, this is definitely could be looking for longs as long as this trend line here is holding. Once we, you know, spike below it, I think at that point we want to kind of hold off on longs. But until, you know, as long as that trend line is holding on the 4-hour chart, I think we could definitely just continue to look for longs on day trading timeframes to at least up to the daily supply at 0.90 that I was pointing out earlier. Last but not least, we are on to crude oil. So last week the banks added 30,448 longs. Maybe that's why we have seen oil such a large move up. And they also got rid of 2,441 shorts. Looking at the weekly chart, we are in the middle of demand and supply, but clearly prices looking pretty bullish as far as momentum goes. And we have at least clear profit margin up to 87.25. We do a full top-down approach here on the daily chart. We had a daily downtrend, and we actually broke the downtrend. We have demand now at 74.04. So I'm not saying we're going to get a pullback all the way down to here, but we definitely could. The banks could want to push price back down to this demand to then fuel for that bigger push up. So that would be my target area. If you're bearish, I'm pretty much, I probably won't even bring up a selling setup, but if you are bearish, that would be our profit target to 74.04. I would definitely look to take profit there, and that's where I would be looking for longs as a swing trader down at that daily zone. Now, obviously, not everyone wants to wait for daily zones. That's why we've been, you know, looking for trades, and unfortunately, some trades kind of here have already worked out. I mean, we've seen nothing but demand zones being respected. Now, we did not catch this trade, but we did in fact catch this 1-hour demand zone trade. This was called out in the daily market breakdown video, well over 5-to-1, and even when we pushed up, created new demand, this zone was respected as well, and that zone went 5-to-1. We did not catch this one, but we did catch the one below. So as far as oil goes now, we could be day trading long this 1-hour uptrend. I think that that's completely fine as long as this trend line is holding. I completely agree. If we push up here and break this supply, leaving us with new demand, that would be our 1-hour entry, especially on swing trading timeframes. That is the 1-hour chart. If you look at a 4-hour chart, we also caught this 4-hour demand zone trade as well. So just absolutely killing it on oil. When it finally achieved 5-to-1 today, as well, called out in the daily market breakdown video. So absolutely killing it on oil lately, and I mean nothing but strength here. We definitely want to continue to trade on day trading timeframes, which is the 1 minute, the 5 minute, and the 15-minute time frame. As long as this 4-hour trend line is holding, we could be day trading long on those time frames, and I'm not going to confuse you guys any more than that. As far as fresh 4-hour or 1-hour zones go, guys, I mean, I don't really see anything until we get all the way down here to like 74.25, and I don't even know if we are going to get that pullback. So as far as oil goes, as day trading longs all the way, if any new 1-hour zones are formed, we could definitely be looking for longs there. And if worst case scenario, we push all the way down to like, you know, below 75, or sorry, below, yeah, like 75, there will be a daily demand zone there we could be looking for longs at. So as far as oil goes, guys, you know, I am long. I am definitely bullish at least up to $88 a barrel. I'm not saying price is going to just skyrocket there, but with the trends to the upside on the 4-hour and the 1-hour chart and breaking on the daily chart, I think longs all the way, definitely the best decision. And if you guys want to watch the full-length forecast with all the other markets, make sure to subscribe to the channel membership to get access.